Hello, how are you? I'm Pia. Today I'm going to be recommending some books based on Heartstopper Season 2. So I did a video like this last year when Season 1 of Heartstopper came out. So this is kind of just like a part 2 of some more Heartstopper-like books, Heartstopper-like recommendations, because I've read quite a few and I know that a lot of us are watching Heartstopper now and feeling empty inside, you know, after finishing that show. And I just want to be here to help you because, you know, you may have already read the series, you may have already read all of Alice Oseman's backlist, and you may have already read all the books that I recommended you guys last year. So I have a new list of some other queer titles and just cute YA books that I think you will really enjoy if you love Heartstopper. The first book on this list is She Drives Me Crazy. This is a Can't Buy Me Love retelling that is sapphic and YA. If you don't know Can't Buy Me Love, that hurts my heart a little bit.
Wow. Yeah, seems legit.
It is like 80s movie rom-com with Patrick Dempsey and it's really good. I recommend it. But basically you have a situation where there's a cheerleader and a basketball player and one accidentally like kind of hits the other with her car. Then from then on they basically make a deal that one has to drive the other to school every day, and so they get seen together a lot and they decide to fake date because of various things going on and romance and trouble ensue. I love this book. This is one that I just thought was so perfectly executed. It has so many of my favorite tropes. Like I said, I already love the can't buy me-ness of everything, but it's such a great sapphic story. It really covers a lot as well. It covers like toxic relationships and things like that you wouldn't expect from being such like a lighthearted romance, but I really like it and I think you would enjoy it as well. Let me know in the comments down below if I'm giving Riley Keough right now. The next book I have to recommend to you is A Cuban Girl's Guide to Tea and Tomorrow. Now, I can't remember if there are explicitly any queer characters in this book, so I don't think it checks that box, but this book so reminds me of the Heartstopper universe in terms of tone. This is a story about a girl who is spending the summer in England. She's from the States, and she just basically has to have this whole like life culture shock, and it is so cute. Like,
why is your face like that?
It is so sweet, but then it also has like these darker themes of grief and loss and mental health and stuff like that. Like, it has a lot. There's baking and I do think like a lot of people who have read Heartstopper know that like one of the main actors in Heartstopper, I think, is going to be in the adaptation of this book, so maybe you have already read it because of that. I definitely think it's one to keep on your radar because the romance is really sweet, and like I said, it does have the tone of like the Heartstopper universe, and I do really enjoy this book. I think it's one of my faves. Next up is a little bit of a different vibe. This is another graphic novel. It's called Basil and Oregano. This is sapphic as well, but it has all sorts of different types of representation going on, lots of queer identities represented in this book. This is a magical story, so it's about a sort of like culinary magic, like a cooking and baking, I guess. Our two main characters, Basil and Oregano, are going to this like magical cooking school to like learn how to magically cook. So it's basically like Hogwarts meets the Great British Baking Show. It's so lovely and wonderful. We kind of have like, you know, high tension with like the school setting, and like I love a school setting. It's one of my favorite things to read about. Another thing I love about Heartstopper is the school setting, so I really like that emphasis on like the academic side of things and the pressures there. And then we also have like this great friendship group, like these like great group of friends, and then we have like the romance as well.
I want to believe in romance.
So it's got a lot of the elements that I find in like Heartstopper, and also a little bit of magic and cooking and baking and stuff. It's super sweet. A newish graphic novel, I think it came out recently, but I definitely recommend checking it out. My next book here is Ophelia After All, and in this book we have a bi main character who is discovering her sexuality, much like a certain character in the Heartstopper series.
Bisexual people exist.
And Ophelia is a girl who has had a lot of crushes in her time, but she hasn't really had a crush like the one she's having before, which is on a girl. So it's leading her to discover a lot of things about herself. This also has a great group of friends. I love every single fucking character in this book. Like, they are all so unique, so like queer and diverse. The most colorful group of friends and so dynamic and so lovely. I really love the emphasis on friendship in this book. It's not really like a romance heavy book by any means. It's more of a coming of age story, and I just think you would adore this book like I did if you loved Heartstopper. Another YA contemporary contemporary romance that I read recently and had to include on this list is Planning Perfect. This is another female centered romance, and it is about our main character Felicity, who has her whole life planned out. She has planned it all and she doesn't want anything to go wrong, but her mother is this kind of like quirky, eccentric, like famous author, and she just completely like throws a wrench into all of Felicity's plans. So Felicity has decided to plan her mother's wedding, and to do that she's going to an apple orchard. This apple orchard happens to be owned by the family of her friend and also maybe crush. And so they're going there for the summer, and it is so cute. Like, it is my perfect little book.
And I'm in love with you.
And I love it so much. The vibes are just so comforting. Like, it is able to kind of like, one thing for me that I really love about this book is that we have this main character who does like stress herself out so much, and there is this plot line of her having to have things be perfect and having to plan things out so much. Obviously that's not a sustainable lifestyle, so she's like learning that, and so you're learning this over the course of the book, but then you're also having this like absolutely adorable romance. You have ace representation, you have this like these two girls falling in love, and it is so beautiful, and I want to recommend this book to every single person ever. And it is just my perfect book, so I'm so happy I got to include it on this list.
I want to be with you forever.
Next up, I have a recommendation for all those who have ever asked themselves, what if Nick and Charlie were in a boy band together and they had to keep their love a secret?
You're terrible. I'm trying.
If that is something you've ever wondered, I have the book for you. If this gets out, this is a book. Unfortunately, I read this while I had COVID, so I don't remember like the clearest amount of this book, but I had such a good time listening to it. It is so sweet. I love the relationship between these two main characters. We have like this boy band that I think is like four boys, and then two who are in love, and you know, their label doesn't like it, but the fans like it, and you know, they want to be able to come out, and it's dealing with all the politics of it, and it is such a lovely like uplifting story. I think a common theme in all of these books that I'm showing you is that they are so uplifting. Like, that's one thing about Owl Salesman is you're gonna read a book, you're gonna like go on a journey, you're going to like go through it maybe at some points, but you're gonna just feel so hopeful and like lovely at the end, and that's really what I was trying to capture in these book recommendations. And I think this book, while being a boy band romance, also captures that. And then the last book I have to recommend to you is called The Long Run. This is one I read recently. And this one is about two boys who are living in New Jersey, so represent, and they're both on like track teams, like different, like I'm a runner, but I like don't know the difference.
Can't run.
You really can't you?
Well, not fast.
I think it's like cross country and then like something else, I'm not sure, but they're like, they weren't friends. They were kind of like at opposite sides of the school. Their friend groups like didn't hang out, you know what I mean? Like, they weren't like, one was popular, one was not, that kind of vibe. Oh, they by chance end up talking and end up finding a lot of comfort in one another, and being able to talk about things that they couldn't before, and being really able to open up to one another.
Hi.
Through that, like, develops this beautiful relationship, and call everything beautiful. I need like a bigger dictionary in my head, but they develop this relationship, and obviously there's trials and tribulations, as there is with any relationship, but especially with a queer one. It's just really lovely. Like, it's really sweet, and I really liked that it did have also that like running element, because I feel like while like rugby is in the Heartstopper books, I feel like we don't talk about it enough. And I don't read personally like a lot of like sports romances. I don't read a lot of like sporty romances, but I felt like this was one that kind of like was in conversation with Heartstopper, and another male romance as well. That's very cute. So those are all my recommendations. If you finished Heartstopper and are looking for something else to read, hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see a part 3 when season 3 comes out, let me know in the comments down below. Or if you have read any of these books and want to let me know your thoughts, or if I missed a book that you're like, absolutely everyone who has read Heartstopper and watched the show needs to read this, let me know, because maybe I haven't read it. And yeah, with that being said, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all the things, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!